Hey, yo, what's up, YouTube, man? It's your boy, Action Jackson, and in today's video, I'm going to be talking about lessons that the Dallas Cowboys can learn from the Super Bowl 59 that just happened on Sunday. There were a lot of things that go into this game that a lot of people forget to see because a lot of people have such revisionist history on type of things. Everyone forgets how this team or how teams are built and which ways you can win games, and doesn't always have to be dependent on your quarterback. And I think that Dallas can learn from this, and I believe this is something that they have to truly attack and get after this offseason and seasons moving forward. So before we hop into the video, I'd appreciate if you guys would like the video, subscribe if you're new, comment, and share my video with anyone who you think will enjoy my content. When we talk about these quarterbacks, they get a lot of credit, right? They get a lot of credit, they get a lot of blame, but there's also this type of talk in which that your quarterback has to play a certain type of level depending on the type of check that he gets. So if Josh Allen makes $58 million a year, he has to play like a $58 million quarterback, no matter if you can't pass protect, no matter if you can't run the ball, no matter if his defense is giving up a lot of 30-plus points in playoff games. We talk about that a lot, and that is a toxic way to really think about football, because honestly, this is the number one lesson that I learned from this, and something that I think just needs to be reiterated is that this sport, football, is an ultimate team sport, and you need everyone to do their part to win big games, including the coaching staff, right? Including special teams, defense, offense. We talk about, again, what I just said, that a lot of these quarterbacks, you have to play up to your paycheck in a lot of people's minds, right? And you look at Sunday, did the better quarterback win? No, right? We all know that Patrick Mahomes is the best quarterback in this league, and there's nobody else that can touch him. Yeah, there's, people say Lamar, damn good quarterback. At certain seasons, he does look like the best quarterback, but in the postseason, who normally gets it done is more times than not is going to be 15. Right? They crown Josh Allen, they crown Joe Burrow, but Sunday showed you that no matter if you have a superhuman or a generational type of quarterback or one of these Hall of Fame type of quarterbacks, that if you can't pass protect, if you can't protect your quarterback, you have no dedication towards a run game, or you can't run the ball, and you can't stop anybody on defense long enough to get your offense to figure it out, you are going to have problems. And we saw that even with our own team for the Dallas Cowboys. When you couldn't run the ball, when you couldn't pass protect for your quarterback, other players couldn't get open, and your defense was allowing the opposing offense to score every single time they touched the ball. We got blown out in the playoff game against Green Bay, 2 years ago, So we see that most times, and we saw that on Sunday. Patrick Mahomes is a great quarterback, one of the best quarterbacks of all time. He's going to go down as one of the best quarterbacks of all time. And he looked trash on Sunday because of those things. You couldn't run the ball, protect him, and defense couldn't get a stop. As you flip side, look at Philly. Congrats to Philly on winning the Super Bowl. But Jalen Hurts is a damn good quarterback. He's a top 12, 13 type of quarterback. But the reason why he got Super Bowl MVP was because Howie Roseman and Sirianni and Fangio and Kellen Moore all helped and dedicated to make sure that those guys were able to put in place. So that's why Jalen Hurts can just do his job. Don't F up the game. Don't turn the ball over. Make the throws when you need to make the throws. And you have all these playmakers to throw the ball. You can't mess it up. You're going to get the looks that you can, right? And Jalen Hurts made those big plays, and that's why he has a Super Bowl ring, right? Great team around him. He made the plays in which that was necessary to win, and he's just a winner, right? So that's the number one thing that I learned so far, is that, this is an ultimate team sport, and you need everyone to do their part to win big games. Number two, it is possible to pay your quarterback top of the line market money. You're able to pay a quarterback within top 8 of his position. You're able to pay 2 wide receivers $30 million a year. You're able to pay your tight end top of the line, tight end market money, top 5, top 10. You're able to pay a running back a top 3 running back salary, and you're able to give offensive line their respective deals. Guys are able to go out and pay. So I don't want to hear in the offseason, and again, I stopped listening to that, and that's just a false narrative. You can make things work, and the players are even catching on to it. You hear Joe Burrow talk about it. He was like, I want the Cincinnati Bengals to find ways to build this team, to build a really good team around me, so that's why we can win it. We've been to the Super Bowl before. We played in 2 straight AFC Championship games. He even went down in a row saying how you do it. Restructure money. If you have such a big cap hit, you can make some of that big cap hit into a signing bonus, which the signing bonus doesn't account towards the salary cap. And everyone does great content all over these platforms talking about how salary cap is a myth. Because honestly, the only people that I hear talk about salary cap from the NFL is people on social media, the Dallas Cowboys, Stephen Jones in particular, and national media like the 3 or 4 letter networks like ESPN, FS1. They all talk about that, right? Those are only people that you hear talk about cap space. But teams that win Super Bowls, teams that always get things done in the postseason, that are always finding ways to add talent to the roster, you never hear Harry Roseman say, you know what, man, we just paid Jalen Hurts, we just paid Devontae Smith, we just paid all of these players, man. We can't get him any help on defensively, man. I can't go out in the draft, and I can't move my picks to go sign anybody. I can't sign anybody in free agency because I have a quarterback on a top 10 deal. You never hear them say that. With Patrick Mahomes and the GM for the Chiefs and Brett Veach, you never hear, oh, man, I gave Patrick Mahomes a 10-year, $500 million contract. Man, I can't go get him. I can't pay Travis Kelce. We can't afford to keep him. I can't give him to Chris Jones. I can't draft or extend Trent McDuffie. I can't do those things. I never hear that. I never hear from a winning organization that can win football games. Heck, even the Saints, when the Saints were competitive, the Saints each and every year, they're $50 million in negative cap space. I never once hear from their GM or their fan base say, man, we can't get this guy because we're over $30 million of cap space. They figure it out. The good teams and the people that truly want to win and that are dedicated to winning games, they're going to figure out a way to work the salary cap. The third thing that I noticed was you need weapons to surround your quarterback, also with a scheme that complements them as well. I talked about that already with the weapons part. I already talked about that. It is possible to get him a really good tight end, to get truly good wide receivers, to get a generational type of running back in Saquon, to get a really good defense. And if you add the surrounding pieces to your quarterback all in one season, everyone talks about Dak Prescott. He had a top 5 offensive line only in 2016. Every single year from then on out, it deteriorated every single year. We kept losing guys. We lost Ron Leary, saw with him and Doug Free both in the same offseason. We had to find a new right tackle and a left guard. We had a miscellaneous. We was going through the Xavier Sulafilus. We were going over Connor Williams, Connor McGovern. We had so many left guards before we finally found Tyler Smith. Tyron Smith was missing a bunch of games due to his back. He was missing 14 games in the season, 5 games in the season, 6 games in the season. He missed 12 because of a partially torn avulsion, basically ripping off his hamstring off the bone. And, offensive line, everyone talks about, Dak Prescott had CeeDee Lamb, Michael Gallup, and Amari Cooper. But you looked at all the snaps that they played, they play like maybe 15 games together, as opposed to you see Jalen Hurts and A.J. Brown. They're playing consecutive seasons in a row with each other. And never did we ever have a top 5 offensive line, a top 10 wide receiver. We had 2 top 10 wide receivers or 2 top 20 wide receivers and a damn good running back or a really good running back duo or just a top 5 running back and a top 10 tight end and a stout defense that did their job. We're talking about Philly. Kansas City couldn't even get past the 50-yard line in 3.5 quarters of a Super Bowl. And we talk about Kansas City and they're always able to move the ball, and we think of high-powered offense, and we're thinking about them always finding ways to score points. That was a hellified of a defense. I have never seen Dak Prescott play in a playoff game, except for one time. We held San Francisco 49ers within 20 points, and that's the one playoff game where I look at Dak Prescott a funny way, like if you don't turn the ball over. But it also didn't help that you couldn't get anybody outside of CeeDee Lamb that can separate outside of him. Again, we're having that reoccurring issue. But again, that was one of the times where I felt like offense could have put up more points than just 16, considering your defense allowed under 20 against the San Francisco 49ers. But be that as it may, But again, just you need the weapons to surround your quarterback. It is a weapons league. You think about all the teams that always make it to the Final Four. You think about Jared Goff. Jared Goff is not a great quarterback. But why is it that when he makes it to NFC Championship games, he always has two really good wide receivers, a really good tight end, a damn good offensive line, or offensive line that works for them? They have a really good running game. Why does it seem that when Jared Goff is having a really good season, a really good to great season, it always seems like he has all these weapons around him? But as soon as you take and you start plucking things away, Jared Goff is now all of a sudden a regular quarterback and he can't play in the league anymore. That just goes to show you that you need weapons around your quarterback. And then the fourth lesson that I've learned is, man, things can change your life when you have really great defensive tackles. Like Milton Williams, I saw, was making plays. He's going to be a free agent. I'm not going to throw a bag at him just because this was his most productive season. But, man, you know, a lot of teams are going to be hitting up his line in free agency. Shouts out to him. He's going to be able to feed everybody in his family for generations because of what he displayed on the Super Bowl. But, damn, doesn't make a difference having a guy like Jalen Carter or a guy like Jordan Davis, Josh Sweat on the edge, Nolan Smith on the edge. Man, it would have been amazing, man, if we can figure out, the Dallas Cowboys can figure out to get a D tackle that can come in here, that if we can get a one technique that can stop the run, truly that can two gap, that can take on two defenders and can take on double teams, and he understands how to play that correctly with great nuance and great technique and things of that nature. And he, you know, if we can get a really good defensive tackle, and that's why I really like this draft coming up, because you really need there's some great D tackles in this draft that are 300 plus pounds that can move really well, like Derek Harmon out of Oregon. He was a transfer from Michigan State. You got to think about Tyleik Williams out of Ohio State. You know, Kenneth Grant, one tech out of Michigan. Don't scout the helmet. Same goes for Mason Graham. But man, and that was one thing I don't want to hear Cowboy fans that were super on the Dallas Cowboys need to win every single game. I never want my team to lose. I don't want you saying that a damn thing come April if Mason Graham gets picked at 10th or the Dallas Cowboys won't draft Mason Graham. Or I don't think they will, because I think they'll fall in love with Mason Graham. But I don't want to hear nobody say in this Dallas Cowboy community that had said, whether it was on Twitter, Instagram, whatever, I don't want to hear nobody say how they wish that they could have drafted or traded up for a guy like Mason Graham because he got picked at 10th. No, that's your fault, because everyone was saying, oh, win every single game, and da-da-da. The players are going to do what the players are going to do. But I don't want to hear no fans say, man, I really wish we could have drafted Ted McMillan. He got drafted at 11. Had you lost more games and been on the tank train like most people were saying, and you were picking top 5, you could have got you Mason Graham, a game-changing defensive tackle that could have changed the way in which you play football games. But everyone else wanted to win games, meaningless games, in December and late November, just so we can feel good and be proud to wear your gear. Bro, like, you're a Cowboy fan. It don't matter. Wear your gear regardless. They're going to make fun of you regardless whether you're good or bad. It doesn't matter. But, man, it would have been nice if you lost a couple more games where you can be picking top 6, top 7. So that's where you can get you a really good defensive tackle like Mason Graham out of Michigan in this draft. But, man, when you get really good defensive tackles and that can get interior pressure, that can stop the run, and if you can because if you get really good defensive tackles, one that can get upfield, one that can two gap really well, then you got a guy like Micah Parsons, and if you can just get home with 4 and stop the run with 4, that does everything for your defense. You can mix and match, you can do whatever, you can disguise everything in the back end, you can do so many things if you can get home with 4 and stop the run with 4, man. 4 meaning defensive linemen, man. If you can get that done, that will be amazing. Last but not least, Philly knew that with a solid back like DeAndre Swift and Miles Sanders, they were able to make their run game solid, and they were able to have a good run game. But then they went into the offseason saying, man, we have a damn good offensive line, if not the best offensive line, a top 3 offensive line in this league. What would it look like if we had a generational type back or a damn good back when he is healthy? And that is Saquon Barkley, man. When you have a difference maker at running back, it changed their entire season. They were able to win 2 playoff games in a row, the divisional round and the conference championship games. They were able to win both of those games because Saquon Barkley just went nuclear in both of those games. That's why I'm on the train for drafting a running back. Ashton Genty in the first round would be a dream. But if you can't get an Ashton Genty, if you can get a Marion Hampton, if you can get a Caleb Johnson, a Marion Hampton out of UNC, Caleb Johnson out of Iowa, Devin Neal out of Kansas, Cam Scoutable out of ASU, Dylan Sampson out of Tennessee, DJ Giddens out of Kansas State, RJ Harvey out of UCF. There's so many. There's a plethora of running back. Trayvon Henderson out of Ohio State. Quince Judkins out of Ohio State, man. You have so many good running backs, man. Make it work, Dallas Cowboys. Find a way to get this running back room going. I would even consider drafting a vet to bring in here, like a Nick Chubb, or if you want to bring in a guy like Rico Dowdle back on a cheaper deal, if he's willing to do that. If not, that's fine. I feel like we can go sign a Javonte Williams and still pair him with a Scotabo or a Harvey or a Neal or a Hampton or a Johnson or, you know, Genty, and get the job done with your running game, right? So, again, the lessons that I learned from the Dallas Cowboys can all be applied to the offseason and in the draft. Number one, this is the ultimate team sport, and it is possible for you to win games, but you need everyone to do their part for you to win these games. It can't just all be on a certain position like quarterback or wide receiver or whatever, right? Defense, whatever. You need everyone to play their part. Number two, it is possible to pay. It is possible to pay everybody and still add to the roster. I've seen Philly do it. I've seen Kansas City do it. I've seen Buffalo. I've seen the Ravens do it. I've seen all of those guys draft well, participate in free agency, make major key trades, and they're playing in championship games, and they're playing championship Sunday every other Sunday. Every other year. They're playing in Super Bowls. It is possible. So I'm not falling for that. We don't have enough pie to go around. I don't want to hear none of that. You need weapons to surround your quarterback and your defense. You need weapons. This is a weapons league. Gone are the days of you're going to have one really good wide receiver, one really good running back, okay tight end, and think you're going to be able to win the Super Bowl. You need at least two wide receivers, an explosive running back, or a really good run game. You need a tight end that can make things happen to stretch the middle of the field. And you need a really good offensive line, or offensive line that is serviceable. You don't need a top 5 offensive line, but you need an offensive line that can get things going as well. You need a really good defense to get stops down in and down out. You need some turnovers. You need things like that, right? Man, it does something in this league when you're able to have great defensive tackle play. And I think the trenches are always something that needs to be focused on in the offseason, regardless of the team. But yeah, and then last but not least, never be satisfied with what you got on the roster. Always be looking for ways to get better. That's what Philly did with their running back position. They saw that they were able to go to a Super Bowl with Miles Sanders, but they wanted to see what their team could possibly look like if they had a dynamic running back, and they added that in Saquon, and they got the ultimate goal that they wanted. Now their goal is to try and you know, repeat and try to get a three-peat if they possibly can. So that's about it for the video. Hope you guys have a nice day. Stay safe, stay blessed. Bye.